Hi there, and welcome back to the Special Olympics Illinois webcast tutorials. Today we're talking our GMS 6, specifically our powerlifting event. And this session is going to take us through creating those games in your GMS 6. We're going to be setting up our events. We're going to put in our squat, bench press, deadlift, and of course our combined for bench and dead, as well as our combined including squat, bench press, and deadlift. We will notice as we go through that GMS 6 has these events set up and are separated by gender. We're going to change that since our gender will be divisioning within those events by that, so we don't need to have 10 events versus 5. But we'll walk through that when we are setting up and defining our events. So what you're going to need is you're just going to need a copy of your policies and procedures to have for you for reference. And it might be helpful if you had a list of your delegations you're expecting at your games. So let's get started. Okay, so we're in our GMS. We're just at the welcome screen here where it's showing all of our games. We're going to come up here to create a new games. That will open our new games wizard. If we go next, we're going to name our games, and I always name mine with the year, so we want 2014 Powerlifting Qualifier, and mine is Qualifier D, and I'm just going to put test at the end of mine so I don't confuse them with my real games. We're going to set this to our GMS only since we don't use VSIS. We don't need that to be interacting. And then we're going to put in our delegations here. Again, it's helpful if you know all your delegations attending when you're setting up your games so that you can add them into the games just by a series of a few clicks. But again, if you don't know all the agencies at this point, you can always go back in and add delegations at a later date. So I'm going to have just a few more here that will be attending my games. If you want to go ahead and pause and select all of your delegations, go ahead and then just come back to us when you're ready. And now that I've got all of my delegations selected, that'll be coming my qualifier. I'm just going to click out of here. We'll go next. And we're just going to scroll down here and we're going to open up powerlifting. And we're going to select our little checkbox there. And you'll see that we've got our bench press, our two combined events, deadlift and squat. And what they've done is they've created these as separate gender events. Obviously, males and females are not going to compete together. That's our first way we're going to division by is gender. So I don't feel it's really necessary to have all of these events to select from when you're doing your entries. So we're going to go ahead and just make these generic when we're setting them up. So let's just go ahead and we're going to select our female versions of those events. So we've got bench press, deadlift, squat, and then our combined bench, dead, and squat, and our combined bench and deadlift. So we're just going to select those 5. Then we're going to go next. And again, our roles allowed in the games. This is not a unified event, so we can take off unified partner. And if you are inputting coaches into your games to track their participation, then we definitely want coach selected here as well as athlete. Of course, only our athletes are allowed in the actual events, and they're only allowed once. We're going to go ahead and set our game start date here. My powerlifting event is going to be April 13th, so I'm going to go ahead and use that date. And of course our date for calculating ages. Like we always say, to remember that this does not carry through to all of your individual events, so you will need to set this in the event definitions as well. We're going to leave our primary location blank for now because we don't have those locations set up in GMS, but that can just be blank. And then we're going to change our honest effort to 30%. And just as a reminder that this games owners and games team members really relate more to security settings that we're not utilizing at this point with GMS. So we're just going to go next, next, and finish. And then this is going to go ahead and create our games. And again, it just puts us right in here at the top of our event list. And that is setting up your powerlifting qualifier. We will be back with a separate webinar to talk us through setting up all of your events. So definitely join me back here for our event definition webinar for powerlifting. And as just a reminder that there will be a checklist of event definitions also available on the user forum for you to download. As always, I hope this is helpful, and we'll see you in the next session.